With Philadelphia Eagles training camp just under 2 weeks away, we've had a lot of interesting developments in recent days, including Jalen Hurts being praised by multiple NFL stars, one being Eagles tight end Dallas Goedert, who also made some very interesting comments about the Birds' Super Bowl loss and the play that had NFL defenses pissed off last season. And a potential Eagles trade target and NFL star made some comments regarding that very play. Could he be the perfect late offseason trade target for the Eagles? Plus, are Nolan Smith and a couple other Eagles players set to disappoint this season? Well, we're going to talk all about that in this video today, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. So obviously the most crucial piece to the Eagles' success in 2022 was Jalen Hurts making the jump from a mid-tier QB to one of the best in the entire game, but despite him proving to be that consistently throughout the entire season by breaking multiple records, continuing to be elite in terms of running the football while also becoming an elite passer, and of course finishing second in MVP voting while leading the Eagles to a Super Bowl appearance, there were still multiple examples of him not getting the respect that he deserves recently. I mean, the easiest one that you can point out is notorious Hurts hater Chris Sims putting Hurts down at number 7 on his QB ranking list, below guys like Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert for reasons that make absolutely no sense. Or you can point to Jalen Hurts also being ranked number 7 in the QB rankings by PFF recently. Or you can look at Cowboys star Micah Parsons disrespecting him multiple times, including back during the season calling him a product of the Eagles' elite roster and the system, and more recently when he was apparently adamant that Daniel Jones is just as good as Hurts, which obviously makes no sense whatsoever. And there's more, as a Philadelphia Inquirer writer also recently had called Hurts the most insecure athlete in all of Philadelphia, and he also said that the reason Hurts works so hard is to make up for his deficiencies and limitations that he has. I mean, it just seemed like no matter what he did, Hurts could not escape the disrespect, which is why it's so nice to see him finally getting some well-deserved respect publicly from other NFL stars. I mean, off the top of my head, if you go back a couple months ago before DeAndre Hopkins was cut by the Cardinals, he listed Jalen Hurts as a top 5 quarterback that he would want to play with. And now in the past couple days, we have Justin Jefferson listing Hurts as his personal 4th best quarterback in the NFL behind Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and Joe Burrow. And of course, Eagles star tight end Dallas Goedert recently had some incredibly high praise for his QB. As like a lot of Eagles fans, he seems to think that Hurts doesn't quite get the respect that he deserves, and Goedert was recently on the Pardon My Take podcast presented by Barstool Sports, where he said, quote, "I think Jalen has to be at the top of any quarterback rankings. If you don't put him there, you're just trying to use his name. I'm from Philadelphia, he's number 1. Like, you can say he has good talent around him. No, he's a dog. He's really good. I think he should be top 3, top 2. It's hard to take anything away from Patrick Mahomes, and you go down that list and there's probably 10 quarterbacks that could be in the top 5 depending on what fan base you are. Personally speaking, Jalen is in the top 2, and he's not 2. I mean, you obviously love to hear Goedert supporting his guy, and it definitely shows you how much confidence he has in Jalen Hurts and how highly he thinks of him. Now, if I'm going to be unbiased, Mahomes is still probably number 1, but I do think that there's a very real argument that Hurts is top 2, and who knows, maybe in a few years, depending on what happens over the course of those few seasons, we could be debating on who's the best quarterback in the game, Mahomes or Hurts. I guess we'll have to see, but overall, it's just nice to see Goedert giving Hurts the respect that he deserves, and I'm sure that Goedert's feelings also reflect how the rest of the Eagles locker room feels about Hurts. So overall, this is just really nice to see. Now, these comments about Hurts certainly weren't the only really interesting thing that Goedert said on this podcast, and don't worry, we're going to get into all of that and much more later, but just real quick here, I just want to say if you are enjoying this video and want to see others like it coming in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Over 80% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. If you're one of those people, you've been watching the videos consistently, you're enjoying them, and you love the Philadelphia Eagles, make sure you fix that right now, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss when any future videos are uploaded. I think that's a win-win for the both of us. Now, with all that being said, let's get back into the video. Now, the next interesting thing that Goedert talked about on that podcast was the Super Bowl turf, as obviously everyone knows that it was really slippery out there that day in Arizona, and it did affect the way the game had to be played. And when Goedert was asked about it, he said this.
Do you want to talk about the Super Bowl now, or we can talk about it later?
Yeah, we're good. I think I'm almost over it, like
Okay.
I'm moved on.
Yeah,
It's this next
totally
year,
over it?
they wouldn't let me.
Almost over it? Doesn't sound like you're over it.
How slippery was that turf? How much are we blaming the sod father?
Man, the sod father did not do good, but
No.
he knew what he was doing.
Yep.
All I can say is it was a great game till the end. If the field was better, if we were playing on turf, I take us 10 out of 10, but I have to say that.
Yeah. No, the turf sucked. It did. It was.
There's a lot of people slipping, you can't make that up, but we played on the same one. I hope we get back and can play on good turf next year.
Yeah.
Now, some people seem to have a problem with Goedert saying this, and I completely understand because obviously you just want to see the Eagles move on and make no excuses, but he was asked about it, and I think that he answered it about as well as he possibly could. I mean, it's not like he's crying about it and blaming the loss entirely on the field or anything like that. I mean, what he basically said was, yeah, the field was slippery, it did affect them, and if the field wasn't that way, then of course he would take the Eagles to win the game, but he also did say it was a great game all around, and both teams played on the same field. The reason I don't have a problem with him saying this is because it's not like he's saying, oh, well, if the field wasn't slippery, then we would have easily won the game. No, he's not saying that. He's not crying about it. Yes, of course he's confident that his team would have won if the field was different, but I'm also sure that he's confident that they would win if they played that game again on the same field that they already played it on. So at the end of the day, I don't really think he's using it as a major excuse. He's not saying that that's the sole reason why they lost the game, and that's why it didn't really bother me too much. Now, the other really interesting thing that Goedert mentioned on this podcast was the Eagles quarterback sneak play. Now, obviously, I think we know that this is probably the most unstoppable play in all of football right now, and Goedert said that it pissed off opposing defenses quite a bit last season. Take a listen.
You get Jalen plus 2 or 3 other guys behind him. It's tough not to get it.
Yeah. Would any of the defensive linemen or linebackers be like this, like saying like,
oh,
here
all the
comes
time.
again?
Call us like and like you're soft, like run a real play. I'm like, I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
don't get
It's
us to
the
3rd
most
and
real
1.
play
Don't
there
get us to
is.
4th and 1.
Now, I really think that this is pretty funny because I know the kind of feeling the defense must have been going through when the Eagles go to sneak the ball because they 100% know it's coming and they still can't stop it. I mean, like, I played a lot of video games growing up, and Madden was a game that I always played all the time, and I still play it occasionally from time to time, but I was never really very good at it, and there were certainly times where the person I was playing would just run the same couple plays over and over and over again, and I just couldn't stop it even though I knew it was coming. I just remember that would piss me off so bad. So when Goedert says that opposing defenses are getting all upset when the Eagles run this play, I completely get it. Now, with that being said, yeah, the defense is pissed off and they're saying, oh, run a real play. It is a very real play. I mean, just because you can't stop it doesn't mean it's not. And I mean, why would the Eagles stop doing this? You got the best center in the league and the strongest QB in the league, and this play statistically worked for the Eagles over 90% of the time last season, so it would be just dumb for them to stop doing it. So bottom line, the Eagles aren't going to stop doing this. They're going to keep doing it until an opposing defense finds out a way to stop it, even if that's pretty much impossible. Now, something else that arose from Goedert's comments was Cardinals star safety Budda Baker chiming in on Twitter saying, quote, I remember almost killing myself the 2 times they did this to the Cardinals last year. I was a post player trying to shoot the A-gap to cause a stop 3rd or 4th and 1 because everyone knew what they were going to do. I got my trampled both times and they converted. No fear though, not smart of me either, but hey, I wanted to win. #respect. Now first off, you love hearing Baker give credit where credit is due, but it's also certainly very interesting that he's commenting on the Eagles yet again in an offseason filled with trade rumors, as obviously we know that Baker had requested a trade from the Cardinals back in April, and there have been plenty of ties between him and the Eagles. I mean, back in February, just before the Super Bowl, Budda Baker praised Nick Sirianni and the culture that he built within the Eagles locker room. And then after he requested the trade, the Eagles were listed as the favorites to land him, and now obviously he makes these comments, and then more recently there's a picture of him that's surfacing where he's working out with Eagles draft pick Kaylee Ringo. So if there's one thing we know about the Eagles and Howie Roseman, it's that they are no stranger to making moves late in the offseason, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen because I still think that it's very unlikely, but it's definitely also not impossible, and it's probably something that we should keep our eye on through the next couple weeks. Now moving on here, there was recently a very interesting article written by Alex Ballantyne of Bleacher Report titled Eagles Players Who Won't Live Up to the Hype in the 2023 season, in which he listed a select 3 guys, and one of them I think will probably get your attention. Now the first guy that was on this list is Nicholas Morrow, which I don't think is that big of a surprise because there are definitely some questions with him as he's only really had one good year so far in the NFL, that obviously being with the Bears last season, and he does have some notable deficiencies in his game, one of which last year was apparently his pass coverage, and that kind of shocked me because back when we first got Morrow, I heard that one of his strengths was his pass coverage ability, so apparently that wasn't true. I don't know where I saw that, but last year he allowed a passer rating of 101.8 when targeted, which is obviously not very good, so Morrow's definitely going to have to prove it this year in his first season with the Eagles, and I'm not saying he's not going to do that, but I do definitely understand the concern with him. And then Ballantyne went on to list Rashaad Penny here, which kind of surprised me at first because I do think that Penny's going to have a really good year this year if he can stay healthy, but that's the very reason that he's included on this list because as Ballantyne said, despite Penny having great numbers when he's been on the field, he just hasn't been able to do that during the course of his career so far with the Seahawks, so now in his first season with the Eagles, Ballantyne said he expects, unfortunately, for Penny to be a little bit banged up at some point, which is the reason that he gave for him potentially disappointing this season, which, you know, I don't really ever want to project injuries onto somebody, so I don't necessarily think that if I was making this list, I would include him on here, because I'm always going to assume that everybody stays healthy at least right away, even though we know that's not the nature of the NFL. I just personally wouldn't predict him to be injured, which is why I wouldn't put him on this list, but I do understand why he's on there. He hasn't been able to stay healthy throughout his career, and that is definitely a big question mark. But the most notable name on this list, and the one that I really wanted to talk about, was Nolan Smith. And this was a shock because he's getting hyped up a lot this offseason, and people are just really excited to see what we have in him. And he's already become a fan favorite, and he has yet to play a single game for the Eagles. Now, that being said, I do kind of understand why he's on this list. And that's not because I don't think he's going to be a great player, because I do. I think he'll eventually be a Pro Bowl caliber player and a leader for this Eagles team for years to come. But the key word in there is eventually, because the fact of the matter is, Smith probably isn't going to have a huge role this year. I mean, you've got three guys in Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, and Brandon Graham, all of which are elite edge rushers that will get a lot of snaps this year and are all ahead of Smith on the depth chart. So that's also the main reason that Ballantyne gave here for including Smith on this list, saying, quote, Reddick played 74% of the snaps last season, and the Eagles have a bevy of edge rushers, including Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Derek Barnett, and Reddick. That's a lot of competition for reps on a team with Super Bowl aspirations. Smith has a clear path to playing time with Graham nearing retirement age and Barnett playing the final year of his current contract. But 2023 might wind up being something of a redshirt year like it was for Nakobe Dean as a rookie. So yes, while we expect Nolan Smith to be great, just like we expect Dean to be great this year, I wouldn't expect too much from him in his rookie season. Now, I don't think it'll be a redshirt year like the article suggests here, because I do think he'll get his fair share of snaps, but not really enough, at least I don't think, to make a huge impact and put up great numbers. Now, that being said, I still am really excited to watch Nolan Smith in whatever role that he's given this season, and overall, I just can't wait for the return of Eagles football within the next couple weeks, actually less than 2 weeks at this point, because training camp is coming up really fast, so we're going to be covering it in depth with videos, shorts, live streams, all that. So if you don't want to miss any of it, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications, and also drop a like on this video if you did end up enjoying, and also leave a comment down below. What did you think of Dallas Goedert's comments? Do you think Nolan Smith is going to disappoint in his rookie season, or at least not live up to the hype? Again, let me know your opinions on that down in the comments below. And also, if you haven't done so already, make sure you check out some of the shorts I have on this channel. I mean, I've done a bunch of them over a pretty long period of time, but I do know that not everyone that watches these videos watches those shorts. So again, if you haven't checked those out already, make sure you do that. And also, if you want to hear why Nakobe Dean could potentially be the key to unlocking the Eagles defense's full potential this season, then you can go watch this video right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.